Hey Joe, how's it going?
I'm here. I put on my headset. You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Put on my
Are you
headset.
driving?
Oh yeah,
We had a good meeting last night.
yeah. It was high pace. I like that.
I am really glad we voted the cards. I didn't want to spend any more time on those cards just because I think Todd's
All
got
right.
other good ideas. Yeah, I can hear you better now. I guess you got your headset on now.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a small thing, but I'm surprised that more haven't seen the card itself. But I'm hoping that we get our assembly is transparent as the California Assembly currently is with their replays. I mean, they just bear it all. Yeah,
Yeah, they do. They do good.
they would just get along better.
I think that's all of them, and I think that's intentional. If nothing else, it's coming from Satan because if we unite and we do this thing, it's going to be a whole new world.
Yeah. Well, it's like batting back and forth across the net, ideas and questions, answers, rebuttals. Some people just are more resilient, what they may perceive as confrontational, and they don't let it get to them. And others are just right on the edge of responding, overreacting to certain things, and that causes it. Organic, that's organically that's what causes contention. Somebody don't speak to somebody in a certain tone, they get all offended, and then they, and then there it goes. The animosity is off and running. Then
Right. Well, that's what I was stating about the podcast yesterday with Anna. There was somebody putting in the chat, all of North Carolina's business. And I know Justin said that we're open. I just didn't think it looked very professional. And I did agree with him. I feel sorry that Anna has to get onto those kind of calls because he was calling her, or whoever it was calling her out in the chat. This isn't right, Anna, question mark. And I thought, well, okay. Did it really need to
what
be on the YouTube channel? You know what I mean?
what was it? I didn't see that part. I didn't hear that
It
part.
was well, they didn't discuss it because Needy was doing the podcast, but it was in the chat and they put the um North Carolina meeting where they voted to punish Needy for like a year and a day or something for bearing false witness is what it said.
Well, it's pretty timely that you're stepping forward and gaining more interest in the ombudsman service. And we've mentioned this several times. It's already established as a fact now. If these assemblies don't embrace the role of marshal at arms and ombudsman together, then they're going to struggle because any outbursts or accusatory, this, that, and the other, you're supposed to bring those to the ombudsman, and then the
Right.
ombudsman sanitizes the name, focuses on the procedure or lack thereof, and then brings that as part of their report to the General Assembly. Now that goes then to the coordinator or the chair of that committee and just hand it off to a competent committee to work on those procedures. And if there is no procedure, that's the first problem. That's the first issue right there. Work
Right.
on it. Work on a procedure that helps get, accuses somebody of false witness. That is evidence that goes to a grand jury. It's not. We don't point fingers at people directly. That's not professional. It's not mature in an organization. But if it's between one or two of the other, per, you know, privately, then yeah, I mean, I might go and say, point at my neighbor to his face and say, "Man, you lied to me." I don't go and tell all of the whole. I mean, what is that? That's immaturity. What that is.
Right, right. Well, and the person even got on the marshal at arms for yelling at him, um, which was Cynthia Pinkerton. But they didn't put that in the chat, thank God. But the way I see it is people are coming to our assembly, and that's one of the first places they go is YouTube. And then we got all our drama out there. And I just didn't think it was very professional.
You say that was Cynthia Pinkston that was doing all that?
Well, they showed the video of them voting, and somebody was taken up for needy, and Cynthia started yelling at them, and they pointed it out in the chat yesterday,
But
and
she's
put
not.
the North Carolina video in there.
Cynthia's not very good marshal at arms. If she's going to be throwing accusations around, I mean, first, whatever. I mean, I don't know, but I don't know the whole details. But anyway.
Yeah, we probably need to get militia started since it's after 7.
Oh, I didn't even know. Go ahead.
It's only 7:01, so I'll send you the link.
How's everyone doing this evening?
Hi, Todd.
That was Chris.
Oh, hey,
How you doing,
I don't
Joe?
like talking about airing out dirty laundry. It's nasty. I don't do that stuff.
Yeah.
I'm glad I missed that part of the first few minutes of our meeting yesterday. It was a good meeting. Fast and good stuff going on, progress. That was awesome.
Well, I'm gonna try my hand at taking charge of one of these meetings. I'm not a speaker and never claimed to be, and more of the quiet and listening type. But I'll give it a shot today. Y'all are well, listen to me butcher this. Today is June 26, 2024. This is a Kentucky Assembly Militia meeting. I'd like to start this meeting with a moment of silence for our leader. All right. Todd, would you like to read the Bivens decision?
All right. Bivens decision. This meeting is private. Bearing false witness, misrepresentation, and posting inflammatory rhetoric in public forums is forbidden and shall be addressed in an appropriate manner to eliminate all conflict and false allegations. Is there anyone in attendance at today's meeting that is a member or agent of any law enforcement agency or public agency of the federal, state, county, city, or township agencies present? Additionally, are there any U.S. citizens or citizens of the United States present? Anyone who is here under false pretenses, anyone who is working for any foreign government, including the territorial United States or municipal United States, anyone who is being paid or coerced to be here must fully disclose their presence and purpose now or leave the premises. If they subsequently show up as federal witnesses, they are discredited for failure to disclose. Is there any response to the Bivens decision? No response. Chris, it's all yours, buddy.
All right.
And just give a heads up before Chris gets into this, because we are partnered up here, I told Chris the way I see it is I may have a title as coordinator, he's co-coordinator, I see us as equals, and I was just trying to get him to be as much of a voice as I am. I created this agenda. He's going to be the voice for tonight, at least for what we see on page, and then he'll share his 2 cents, and I'll share my 2 cents as the rest of you do. But we're just trying to partner up and just be a team here. So this is how this is going. All right, Chris.
Thanks, Todd. It's all good. It's a good step out of your comfort zone, I guess. Always better to grow. Taught some of this stuff in here. It's good information what the militia historically was. Originally, militias were set up for defense forces by the people for protecting town, city, or state from overreaching government. What our militia is now, our Kentucky Assembly Militia, is still a defense for the people by the people. However, we now partner with our sheriffs in peacekeeping role for our towns, cities, and state, and to aid in emergencies and disasters and in education. We are just beginning to get this started. And last night, Justin mentioned us getting a mission statement for the Kentucky Assembly website. And Todd came up with this. Good example. I like it. As the Kentucky Assembly Militia, we are charged with keeping the peace and defending Kentuckians from overreaching government and those attempting to inflict harm on the people of Kentucky, and to provide protection and safety of Kentuckians in disasters and emergencies and education. And an example of a motto for the militia would be defend, aid, educate, and lawful peace of the people.
So, if I may, Chris, on that. So, me and Chris were talking before. I just wanted to throw something in there. If we want to change this completely or whatever, I just wanted to put something up there that was kind of my first and foremost thoughts. So, this is changeable, but that's why I put them up there as an example, just so we have something to kind of to look at and think about, and maybe this will aid us to get us our actual mission statement and our actual motto. I know Joe and I been discussing that, and as we get into the business, when we were talking about that, part of that will be on that card, especially for the motto and everything. So with that, I'll let Chris go ahead, and while he's doing that, I'm going to try to pull up the information, and then I will share part of what Joe and I were talking about. And then as Joe would like to jump in and maybe explain some things, then what we'll do is we'll at least have the screenshot. I can pause it or whatever, and then he can explain what we're doing. And then if there's any questions or comments or whatever, then hopefully everybody will see and understand the cards that we're looking to order. So go ahead, Chris. I'm going to try to get this ready to pull up.
All right. It's an awesome baseline to start for our mission statement. Does anyone have anything they feel needs to be added to that?
Oh, it sounds great.
I added a quote that I really like. It's in the chat.
Okay.
It says the limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those whom they oppose, and it's by Frederick Douglass. Just a thought. I came upon it the other night.
Good quote.
Very good quote.
Let's see.
All right. As mentioned last night in a General Assembly meeting, we're looking to get business cards to hand out kind of for an outreach. Quick, hey, how you doing? Leave them with a little bit of information in a card. That way they can reach out. Use the QR codes to look up the assembly, and also stay in touch with or get in touch with the PKTF and talk to Joe. I know I think everybody on this call is familiar with the cards, but we're going to bring them back up so we can look at them again and talk about them a little more, and see the video discussion that Todd and Joe had about them. You ready, Todd?
Now, y'all keep on talking for a second. I had to pull up because I tried to download the file and it wouldn't let me. I couldn't bring it up that way, so I have to do it out of the email. So I'm hoping that's going to work. Let me get to that email real quick and then I'll pull it up.
Okay. Joe, Todd said you've been back in contact with your IT guy since y'all discussed this further. Is that correct?
Patrick has the meeting. He has the audio video meeting and screen share. So he's aware of he was just waiting for approval to reconfigure the the layout of the card itself, and then have them ordered. So we're that close.
Okay.
And it should not take him any more than 20 minutes because of how the Kentucky Assembly is planning to use those cards. So it's really great. That's where we're at. So what's going to happen, just so you guys know, all the other assemblies, other state assemblies who have assembly militia, assembly liaisons, will have the same kind of card configuration where they'll have PKTF on the front. I'm talking about the liaison's business card, and then their state logo modified on the back. But then when their assembly militia leadership takes on outreach like this as an option, they'll just do the same thing. They'll convert, they'll put their logo, modified or not, on the front and put PKTF on the back. So it's gonna be great. Looking
Hey,
forward to it.
Chris,
Yeah.
if you'll stop sharing, I'll try to share this other.
Oh,
All right, let me see. Wait a minute. This moved on me. Hold on just a second. Can y'all see that?
I can.
yeah.
Okay. Now let me see if I can adjust this screen. And I've got multiple screens. I'm trying to get it to where I can play this, and it's covered up, so I can't. Hold on just a second here.
But to answer your question, yeah, Chris, IT is just waiting to pull the trigger.
Thanks, Todd, for being
Great.
here. It shouldn't take very long
Wait a minute. I
at
had it.
all. Especially we've had conversations about outreach material and whatnot. So we're talking about the business card that CMS IT has put together. They're already kind of already aware of what we're doing here. But we just want to go over some of the details and capture that on a 30-minute or so meeting so that we can send that right over to them and they can start to get to work. Also, ahead of that, you can bring this back to our GA meeting for Kentucky, and maybe get some funding out of the Treasury. And if not, if you do opt to invest, we do encourage you to keep that invoice. We have other investors that are self-investing in other projects, and we still ask them to send over those costs, those expenditures, so that down at a later date we can, replenish either the investor dollar for dollar or send it to wherever they would like to go. Just to keep up with everything. Okay.
So I'm going to pause this just for a second. Everybody hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically, this is the back of Joe's card, and we're just going to take this Kentucky Assembly seal there, and that's going to be replaced on the front of the card. So I'm going to try to see if I can fast forward a little bit where we can go back and forth without listening to the whole bit. And then the scan to visit our link tree, that will stay the same for the PKTF. And then the V card, that's going to have all the contact information through the assembly. Is that correct, the way we talked about it, Joe?
Yep, that's it. Yep.
And then we will have, where it says the Peacekeeping Task Force, that will have the Kentucky Assembly there, the militia, right?
Yeah. Or it can stay at PKTF since the PKTF logo will go on the back. It can go either way, where it's the Assembly Militia for the Kentucky Assembly is highlighted on the front, and then PKTF is piggybacking off of that on the back. That's however you guys want to do that.
Okay, so we still have a little bit of flexibility there. So now that you see at the top, the Evaluation, Education, Coordination of Lawful Peacekeeping, that's the Peacekeeping Task Force motto. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
So then our motto that we would have could go right there. Now, was there a motto for just the assembly?
A motto for the assembly?
Just the Kentucky Assembly?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm not
So
aware of that.
that's why, like when I did that example, then if we come up with something, whatever we come up with, even if it's totally different or we use that or whatever. And Joe and I were saying we're talking about it the other day, but I think when I was talking to Joe the other day, that's when I was outside and I wasn't able to take any notes at the time. But you were mentioning something about, we were talking about defend, move, and communicate. Is that correct?
Protect, move, and communicate.
Protect.
Yeah.
And that was tied into, you mentioned through the military background. What was that, if you can?
Yeah, the the basic training motto is to shoot, move, and communicate. That's how all privates, all of the ranking basic training soldiers are taught to appreciate their training. Is that it teaches them how to properly shoot, move, and communicate. So we wanted
Okay.
to try to unravel that or neutralize any kind of notion of defense or contact, violent necessity by removing the word shoot, you know, because certainly that's not the first aspect of the assembly militia. It's within its capabilities, but contrary to the military, that is their first intention, is to shoot, move, and communicate. Shoot, move, communicate, around and around and around. So I like the idea of neutralizing that, and adding a motto for all assembly militia, if that was their notion, is to pick up a motto, but also embrace the need for training to be mobile, to move with survivability, efficiency, and to communicate, and all while protecting their counties and their state.
So I like that idea. Like I said, I don't think at the time I was able to write that down. I just I kind of remembered off the top of my head. And so we could do something just like that at the top there with those three particular words if you all are in favor of that. And then if we want to keep of lawful peacekeeping in the end of it, I think that's kind of the way Joe and I were initially talking about it. So those things, hopefully that'd be something we can maybe decide on tonight. So that way, Joe moving forward, he would have that piece. Joe, did you receive the email for my new Ionis email?
If you send it later today, I did not.
No, I sent it like yesterday.
Okay, I'll have to check now. But did
Okay.
you send it to my Ionis as well, or a different
Uh,
email?
yeah, I think so. Or no,
Okay.
let's see, your PKTF is not Ionis, is it?
I have two Ionis through the Federation, and then Proton.
Okay.
They're almost identical. Yeah.
I think maybe I sent through the Proton maybe, but anyway,
Okay.
just if you can check either one of those and let me know that way if you haven't received it, then I can send it to you.
Okay.
And then that way you can have all the pieces, but hopefully everybody tonight can give some input. And then if they like what we're talking about or the ideas and they have a better visual now, then that way when you go back to your IT guys, you can fill in those couple missing pieces.
Yeah, and if you'll notice, everybody, I noticed it was mentioned. Was it mentioned last night regarding different assembly pillar logos? I don't know if that was mentioned last night, but that was an idea. Um, but anyway, if that's the case, that's really a great idea. I mean, a separate business cards for the
Different
different
pillars.
pillars. Yeah. But if you'll notice here, this is what our IT, because he realized the sensitivities of the letterhead, the logo for the Kentucky Assembly itself. So you'll notice this one, it looks almost exactly the same, but it's not. This is actually a more perfected vector file of the original Kentucky Assembly. The original Kentucky Assembly was also made by the same software, but it's different. The only difference is are in the really fine details, but what jumps out at you is the green silhouette on the front of that. So if that's what the Kentucky Assembly Militia, as far as this business card, which is designed to bridge between the Peacekeeping Task Force and the Assembly Militia, then that particular logo, Kentucky Assembly modified logo, would fit the one of the 4 logos for the Kentucky Assembly. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then that would be it. Now, if the Jural Assembly was to take on a modified logo for its pillar, then something else can be done. But we can offer that service. It will be a cost, obviously, you know. But
Right.
hey, this is outreach, and this is what we do. This is what PKTF does, and this is what the Assembly Militia does. So we're a really great company right now. Yeah.
So with that, I decided to mute that and just kind of move it forward so you guys could see the front of the card again. So back to what Joe and I were discussing, that Kentucky Assembly logo will go there where it says Peacekeeping Task Force. Then we would have where the Peacekeeping Task Force is at the top would be the Kentucky Assembly. And then that would be whether we determine, did we say militia on that though?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was thinking.
And
then we
again,
would,
and again, going back to even the logo, the modified Kentucky Assembly logo, the seal. I mean,
yes, the seal.
if we can differentiate between the Kentucky Assembly seal and the Kentucky Assembly logo, they may be synonymous, but at least we could say that that seal on the back of this card would be a logo, not an official seal. It would be an
Okay.
official Assembly Militia logo, if you decide you like it.
Okay. And then where it says Joseph Hayes, that would have my name and then my title, but we were going to keep his number and then the PKTF executive director, because that's his number there. And then you would still have the address. And then there would be to your left where it says pktfnews.org. That would change. Let's see. What did we say?
Yeah, that would go to the back.
Right.
Both could go to the back, but certainly the pktfnews.org would go to the back. They both could go to the back because the link tree is on the back. And PKTF News, this seal is going to go to the back. And then the Kentucky Assembly Militia pillar logo, Kentucky Assembly Militia logo, will come to the front along with the Kentucky Assembly website address.
Right.
Yeah, so what would change, so from top to bottom, all the way down, this would be the Kentucky Assembly Militia. And then you would have the modified logo that you've seen on the back earlier. Then the motto underneath the Kentucky Assembly that you see at top, PKTF, Peacekeeping Task Force, the motto would go there: protect, move, communicate, right? Then there would be Todd and or Chris's name there, their title, the current phone number that you see on the front.
Let me try to get back to that.
Yeah. Todd's Ionis address, the same mailing address, and then that's it.
Yes. All of these corners are.
So does anybody have any questions or thoughts on that?
I think that all sounds pretty good.
That is it, have we made it more confusing, or have we made it more or better as far as understanding how it's laid out?
No, I don't think it's confusing at all.
Okay. So
I have a question.
sure.
So we have the Kentucky Assembly on the front, or are we looking at this as the back? Okay.
This is
So
the
we have
back, but this seal here,
Or logo.
which is a modified logo of the seal. Let's put it that way.
Right.
That is what's going to be on the front in place of the PKTF.
Okay, so my question is, should the militia have their own little circle like that? Like the assembly has it, but this is for the militia, so maybe it needs its own logo.
Well, now that would take much more time and cost. It took
Okay.
about 60 hours to create that logo. Our IT is an extreme perfectionist, admittedly. So if you zoomed in on that file, it is so clear. And that took time. So what he did after he went through that painstakingly, then he said, look at that silhouette of the Kentucky Assembly. Let's just color code that. to differentiate between your actual official seal. So really, I mean, even if the General Assembly would want that, they might say, well, make that beige, make that silhouette beige, you know, and the Business Assembly will say, well, make that blue, you know, and the General Assembly, well, we'll just keep it clear, like, you know, whatever,
That if we
or
did
white.
it like that and it was just color coded, it would make it much easier and simpler for the IT
Oh
guy to
yeah,
do it instead of doing a
that's
whole
right,
new.
right.
Or potentially the only other thing I could think is like, and I'm just going to throw this out there as an example. So maybe what we could do is we would have the silhouette is maybe we would put like just like a capital M or a capital J for Jural or a G for general, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
then you could even if you kept it the same color, then you would just have the letter designation to whatever pillar it is.
sure.
And
Yeah,
then by doing that, that would be really simple for the guy. He could just go in and add a letter to it and be done.
yeah. Sounds good to
But
me.
but that's just an idea, you know. And
I
then
think it's a very good one.
the
Yeah,
only other thing in addition to that you if you want to make it a little more distinctive is do both. Do a color change and then just add a letter, and that still would be real simple for the IT guy.
yeah. I like it.
So uh, so I'd say for right now, if everybody's good with this, then we'll go with this for now, based off of what we've explained to you. The only pieces that that Joe has to have is make sure he's got my email, and then we will have to confirm what we want to put up here as far as this motto here. Did you all like what we talked about earlier when Joe mentioned the protect, move, communicate? Do you want to go with something different or something like what I had on the agenda? What would you like to do?
I like the Joe's. I think that's a good. That pretty much covers it all.
Okay. What do you think, Chris and Laura?
I like it also.
So go ahead.
Well, I was going to
Yeah,
say it also appeals to the recollection of prior service members. They're going to know that motto. That motto was ingrained into our minds during basic training, and I would venture to say it's still exactly the same motto: should move, communicate.
Okay.
But so when they see that, they're like, "Well, what happened to shoot, man?" Well, we don't do that. We don't. That's not what we focus on.
Right.
It's there, but we don't focus on it.
So with everybody seeming to be in agreement, and I hadn't heard from Laura yet, but I'm assuming she's agreeing too.
Yes.
So let's just lock that in, Joe, that we would do the protect, move, communicate. And then now if we do that, are we going to add in lawful
Peaceful.
peacekeeping instead of?
I would. Yeah, I would keep that last part too.
But
Either
in
in
or
or out.
of?
Either. Yeah. Yeah. Either one.
It just sounds like it does. I think the word when you get to communicate and if you use of, it just sounds odd.
Yeah. Yeah. In probably sound is better. Yeah. I agree.
So let's just do that. We'll do protect, move, communicate in lawful peacekeeping.
Okay.
And that'll solve that mystery there. And then we've got, like I said, as long as you can confirm whether or not you received my honest email. If not, then I can either throw it in the chat here or however.
Okay.
Can we use the word by instead of in? By peaceful? Don't you
By
think that sounds better?
yeah, that it sounds even better.
by lawful peacekeeping. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's even better. That I was just trying to make it make sense when you read it and not be like, oh, that's just sounds strange.
Yeah.
But it's the word like coordination works with of, but communicate doesn't. So
Right.
let's go with the by then.
Yeah. And now, so what'll happen is I'll send this as and once you guys provide this as a link, I'll send this over also to Patrick. What he'll do is provide this same card just like this, modified. And based on the simple changes that we're discussing here, he can have this done in within 1 hour. And he'll send a card that looks just like this, a palette, as you see here, kind of a range board, and he'll send it right over with all of those changes.
So let me ask you all this, if
Prior
you
to
just
ordering.
want to test the waters, do you all want to test the waters and put an M in that green seal? And see that way moving forward, if we like it, or if we don't, then that would be something, again, easy for him to do. And then moving forward, we could say, okay, well, now if Jurl wants to do theirs, and then the business pillar wants to do theirs, and the General Assembly wants to do theirs, then
Hey, I have a thing with that. There's no problem at all for him to change all of that to be green. The green cardinal, the green diamonds, the green, everything green. I mean, just like the recording secretary stamps are red,
right,
he can do that just a click of a button. So if you
right.
want that as all green, that makes good sense too. It'll black words and green, black silhouette and green. See how that green is a gradient green in the middle, like
Yeah.
You can leave that gradient, and then basically you'll have everything else will be blue, green and black, same color green, dark green,
In
and
place
then
of the
black.
blue that's in there.
Yeah, in place of the yellow, in place of the red, in place of yep. We just
I
don't
don't
want to
know.
overburden. We don't want to overburden our IT to have to rework any kind of vector detail. But change colors is not an issue. Put
Well,
it in a
yeah,
letter.
I
Yeah,
knew the change in the color. I just figured the letter would be easy to add too.
yeah, it can be added. Yeah.
I just didn't know if everybody would want to test the waters on with this right now or not, or just let it go for now and then start later.
Yeah, because you'll have a different order next time. So yeah, you can change it next time.
Laura has her hand up.
Go ahead, Laura.
Is militia going to be somewhere else on the card? Or are you just going to put an M for militia?
No, it's on the front.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be
I'm
on the
just
front.
making sure. I thought so, but because I mean, I think either way,
Yeah, Kentucky
you could
Assembly
do it.
Militia at the top, and then that little M, which will also be on the front, by the way, which means this logo will be larger, the same size as the PKTF.
Right. So what will be in place of this official seal or logo here on the back?
PKTF, smaller,
Okay.
as small as that one is.
Okay.
In
So
color, original color.
so is that clear for everybody then?
Clear for me.
Me too.
So just the last thing on this so we can move forward. Do we want to leave this just like it is now, or do we want to make any color changes or add that M in there so we know that way Joe will have everything he needs to know as far as going back to IT?
I like the M.
You like the what?
The M.
Okay.
And no
Chris?
color change? No other color change, just the M added?
I'd kind of like to see the green in place of the blue, just see what it looks like.
Okay. And what color M? White? Like the background of the logo?
I was thinking black, but I don't know.
Well, black might not show up with that gradient green.
I think white is good.
Okay, we can do white. I don't know that I would want, the only thing is I don't know, and see what you all think. I think if you changed everything to green, the cardinal and the flag, I think that would be too almost bland.
Yeah, it would
I
be.
agree.
If
It would be the
anything, I think if anything, I'd be like Chris. I would change the blue to match the color of the silhouette, so that all the like the little
Oh
dots.
yeah. So the diamonds, but by the way, there's 120 diamonds on there,
Oh, is
indicating
it?
120 counted. Yep, and same with the bursts in the middle, 120. It was designed that way. So yeah, if you want to change and leave the cardinal red and the grass there, There's yellow, and
Yeah.
then yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
I think doing that would be really kind of neat, would, to do
yeah,
that.
yeah. And they
But,
would modify this Kentucky seal further
right.
away. Yeah, yeah.
So if we're going to change it to green, can we change the Kentucky state to blue instead of green? Because I think it might be too much green.
Yeah, you got a point, I guess. Um, or if you did anything, maybe you would leave the blue that's the inner circle around, and then if you change green on the outer or something, so that it still has a separation.
Yeah, that would work.
So with the various ideas, let's go ahead and I'll elect to have Todd and Chris make those final decisions because all of these are great ideas. So whatever you guys finally decide, I just need to know those changes. That way I can let Patrick know, and then he can let me know how much the time is. If we want to move on to the cost, I wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, go ahead about that, and that way we can get
Okay.
this part wrapped up, and then move on to the other two.
Okay. Uh, what Patrick is asking for other states, he's using the Kentucky first, and he's going to move into Arizona because they're next, and then maybe Ohio after that. But he's trying to maximize his time and get a little bit of jingle, very little compared to what he can do. He mentioned in this industry, creating vector files. It takes a while, first of all, but the industry itself charges 120 an hour. That's just what he said. He's not asking for that at all, at all. That's a fraction of that. But what PKTF is trying to do is actually offset that because we're going to be benefiting from these cards going out as well. So from other states, this 4983, it's still the same for Kentucky, but in the future, for other states, he's going to charge. His office is asking for $99. So it's the same cost for the however much time it is to create Arizona's logo modified for the same purposes on the same type of instrument, a business card. And then PKTF is going to try to raise funds to cover the rest of that cost and bring that extra $50 or so back to RIT so that they can continue to make time to make these cards. So for what I mean is, so now Ohio Assembly, when their Assembly Militia gets to this point and they're working with their Assembly Liaison and their office, that their cards are they're asking for a total of will be asking for a total of $99. But if Patrick took 10 days to make any other card, same graphic challenge, same all this other, with the same exact layout, maybe even a link tree. I mean, to make it nearly identical. He would still say this ends up being $49.83 shipping and all. 500 cards, $49.83 shipping, drop ship right to your house. That's exactly what he did with me. But the only difference will be again how much time it takes to do all the other cards from all the other states, and then he's just asking for $50 for the whole thing. Again, whether it takes him 10 days or 60 hours, which it took for this one to make took 60 hours to do that one logo.
Wow.
Yeah. But it was admittedly for him, it was a learning curve. He's better at it now, but he still says, the industry, whether they're fast or not, they charge 120 an hour. He's not going to charge that. And I'm just to let you know, when other assemblies, when you see the Ohio Assembly coming up with this as part of their outreach, know that this card in the hands of their Assembly Militia leader was $99. And I think he's going to keep it at that same price. He's not going to go over. It's one card, same purpose, geared towards outreach and PKTF assisting with the cost when we can. They'll still cost them around $50, but PKTF is going to try to raise the extra funds. That's what I was mentioning last night. Try to give us a good rating. So every year when it comes around, when we ask for a whole year's funding, that you guys say, yeah, they're doing pretty good. They're doing all right. PKTF is doing all right. They raise funds too for us. So.
Right.
So it's not going to
Okay.
cost you guys. It's not going to cost the Treasury, Kentucky Treasury, $99, $49.83. That was what was advertised, and that's what it'll be. But Patrick's going to have to. That's at cost, 100%. He made zero nickels during making this card, so I'm going to pay him back myself. And when he made this card, my cards, it was on the house. So this one that we're talking about modifying will also be on the house, but and PKTF is going to chip in for the Kentucky Assembly because look, we're on the back of this same card. So we should help, we should help. All right.
Okay.
And we will.
All right. Thank you for that, Joe. I'm going to close this out and let Chris get back to the agenda.
Okay. Just by the way, guys, I have to cut out here in about 20 minutes. I have a CMS meeting. Sorry to take so long on all that, but I know everybody was asking for a recording for what we're talking about.
Hold on here.
Concept video.
Okay. Allow you, Chris, to share again.
Yeah, I believe so. See that?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for that, Joe and Todd.
Yeah, thanks for bearing with us on that because we want to explain that. I was hoping we could do that last night. Of course, you see the time it took tonight, so it's probably a good thing we didn't do it last night. But go ahead, Chris, and we'll just kind of keep moving forward.
All right. Next steps, we need to form a militia committee. I'm assuming, Joe, would that be a standing committee?
That's going to be a subcommittee. The standing committee will be outreach.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't 100% positive on that. But we're going to be needing a militia secretary, treasurer. We're going to definitely have a treasurer to get the funds for the business card unless me and Todd decide pay for the cards ourselves to keep from having to wait to elect a treasurer for militia.
I figured in that this time we would just reach out to Belinda on this time, and then in the future once we get a treasurer, then if we're having to ask for something else, then they would be responsible at that point in time.
I'm good with that. I don't mind chipping in to get this going. And we're looking at doing a training day. We haven't set a date on it yet, but other than communications, what would the people like to work on first? Water purifications, herbal remedies. I know Laura's good with herbal remedies, map reading, foraging, first aid, anything that y'all could think of that y'all would want to work on, try to learn or get better at.
Always ready for improvement. All of the above.
So
Water is important.
Chris and I, in our conversations, and it's at least every 3 days anyway, if not a couple times a day, sometimes we're trying to communicate, and we'll send emails and everything. But so communications is one of the first and foremost things that we have been discussing, and so that is definitely there. But like you mentioned on the water, I don't care what happens. I mean, you can only go 4 days without water, and that's about it. I mean, so anyway, that's something there. But all these other things, we were thinking if we could do, and I mentioned last night, I didn't put it in this here tonight, like doing that at Bernheim Forest. And then, because I asked Justin where the majority of our ASNs are, and he said they were closer to the Jefferson County area. Not all, but obviously. So with that, that's when he mentioned Bernheim Forest. So I think that may be a good place, because if a large number of our populace is in that general area, then it would make it more convenient and maybe hopefully get them to come out for those that are not on these meetings. And then we would just do a setup there in the park, and we'll use you, Laura, as example. Say you want to do an hour training with herbal remedies, or 2 hours, or whatever we decided. Then we'd give you a slot, and then, you know, if we had somebody, maybe say Chris was doing water purification or whatever, and then say Joe was doing map reading or whatever, we would just kind of give slots so people could have time. Laura, I see your hand up.
I don't think that Bernheim offers camping. With Scouts, we went to a place called Crooked Creek, and I don't know, maybe Bob could, do you think you could reach out? I mean, he could try to reach out. It was a scouting place, though.
It's next to Bernheim.
But it's right next to Bernheim. It's technically part of Bernheim, but
Well,
I don't think Bernheim offers just camping, because I've been there several times.
Well, this right here would just be training. This wouldn't be camping. This would be just like a day training.
Okay.
The camping itself, which we'll get into next, is a little different situation. But this would just be a day where we would just go sit up for 6-8 hours. We would determine the time slot, and then we would just basically, you know, have people who are going to be designated to lead some kind of education, and then that person would be given, you know, an hour or whatever we determined that we needed to do for that particular day, depending maybe on how many things we want to do. I don't want to do too many to where it's like information overload, but if we could pick like maybe 3 or 4, maybe at the most, that you could just focus on that day, or 2 or 3, then we can, you know, maybe do that and have some hands-on stuff. Let people get to, you know, everybody likes to be able to touch and see and experience things without just seeing it on a screen somewhere. So,
Joe has his hand up.
go ahead, Joe.
Oh yeah, water purification, water conservation, purification, and protection. This is one of the mission objectives for the Peacekeeping Task Force for all Assembly Militia. As we go around and help to qualify every assembly that's ready to enter ex parte Milligan, that is one of the first objectives that we're hoping that these assemblies are growing more experienced with the need for such. So water filtration is a part of that, but well digging, you know, and protecting that well, and allowing safe travels to and from that particular reservoir. That's one of the objectives that we're working on. Just so you know.
Okay,
Nationwide.
that falls in hand, so that would be a good one to go ahead and add with communications right off the bat. And I know Chris and I had discussed first aid. What was that you mentioned, Chris, to me earlier today? CERT?
CERT training. I remember hearing Jim Fulton on Washington talk about it a little bit on one of his countrywide meetings. And even though it's, I guess, FEMA sponsored training, it's still supposed to be very educational and pertinent to what we're doing. CERT, for anybody doesn't know, it's Community Emergency Response Team. I'm not sure what it cost, but I know there's one close to where Todd's located. I wouldn't mind a call and try to get some pricing on some of that, just so we have some type of training or a jumping off point to get some training done on that.
Tom, you got your hand up?
Hey guys, great job. Y'all doing a great job. I just want to mention about the first aid reminder that Ann Holdaway on Oldham County is a nurse, and I'm sure she would be happy to do a class on whatever y'all are interested in. So just keep her name in mind, and I'll be sure to run that by her.
Now, you say she's on what?
She's on Oldham County.
Odom. Okay.
Yeah, she was a nurse for 20 plus years until COVID hit. She refused to get the vaccine, and they forced her out of her job. But yeah, very, very educated and knowledgeable and willing to help out. When the time comes, I'll let her know.
Great.
Great, thanks.
Thank you. Laura?
I think that sounds great. We could do our first meeting with the communication, the purification and first aid, and possibly, I don't know if y'all don't have this in there, but fire starting, that's usually pretty important if everything goes out.
Yeah. Like say anything that you can think of, we just need to kind of like say make a list of what we want to do, and if we don't get it this round, we'll try to get it the next round. Right now is trying to plan. We were going to try to plan something. Actually, we were going to try to plan it for, what was it, the 6th, Chris? Was that the Saturday?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so and that was short notice. I've been extremely busy, and just it's going to be hard for me because we were going to try to do a camping outing, and it wasn't working out. So I'd say between now and the next meeting, hopefully we can kind of come up with at least a tentative date for a day training. And then we'll go ahead, if everybody's okay with that, we'll look at those, and then if we need to add a fourth topic there to discuss, we could add that. But right now we know at least the 3: communications, water, and then the first aid. And then if we have the time or whatever, and we can work it in, and we can add fire starting or whatever, we'll try to do that. We'll just try to set up an actual day, like a Saturday or something, that we could do that. I know Chris's schedule is getting ready to change, and that was one of the things that didn't work out for us for camping. So that's kind of out of his hands. And so is there any other discussion on that training day? Okay. Chris, if you
Anything
want to go
else,
ahead and
y'all?
move forward.
Anything else y'all would like to see that we could touch on for that training day?
Oh, that
All
sounds
right.
pretty. 8 hours. That's quite a bit. That's good, I think.
We're
Okay.
talking about having some camp outings, like try out different things and kind of hang out and get to know each other. We know everybody's scattered out throughout the state, so we may be looking at doing like a regional type groups. That way people from certain areas have to travel so far to attend one. Maybe do a couple a year, maybe something of that nature, and take it back and communicate it with the rest of the pillar, what was discussed and taught at those camp outings.
And
You want to
on,
add anything to that, Ty?
yeah, just, and Laura, I see your hand up, but give me just a second. So Joe and I have been discussing some of this, and one of the things he mentioned, because one of the initial things that I was going to try to do or work out was Chris and I are going to try to get together because of being coordinator and co-coordinator. I just feel like that's the smart thing to do. As we get to know each other better and we communicate, it's just, to me and Chris agree, there's nothing like face to face. This is great that we have this technology, but it doesn't take the place of in-person contact. So right now, me and Chris are going to work on doing that. Even if we don't meet with anybody else, me and Chris are going to meet up. I just told him, even if we just hang out and have coffee or breakfast and get to talk and just get to know each other, because I think that's important. In addition to that, Joe has given the idea, and then I was talking to Justin as well, is to be able to have these regional groups to where you would say in Jefferson County, everybody that's in Jefferson County, if y'all wanted to meet up at a particular place, somebody had a farm or something and you wanted to camp and you wanted to record, what you were discussing or whatever, and bring back to the pillar, then, Chris may do a thing over in his area in Marion County. I might do something up north, and just wherever we're at, if we were able to divide up and then we brought back what we were able to do with our smaller groups, because getting everybody from across the state together it's not impossible, but it's very difficult. Because we found out through this trying to get me, Chris, Justin, and Joe together, it's difficult to do. Everybody's busy. Everybody's got a lot going on, and just so with that, how do you all feel about doing those type of camping outings versus trying to make like a just one central? Not that we can't do that, but it may come later.
I think it's important that us as a militia meet up together, just the people on the militia. And what I was going to say was when you do your outing and we're doing this, we could record it for, further education, especially since we're going to be doing stuff outside so that people that can't make it still get the knowledge. I don't know, we probably want to do a test run before we record it, but we could still record the information and they would have access to it.
And that was the idea of doing that. It was having it recorded, or the information to be able to share. As far as when I mention camping outings, I'm actually mentioning for those that's on the militia. So as we get more on the militia, as you got certain areas, not that other assembly members couldn't be included, but this is strictly kind of right now for the militia to be able to get together, to get to know each other, to try out these skills that we're learning in a real situation. And then what you learn from that, use that as feedback, so that when we have our meetings, then Chris and I will bring that forward and say, hey, Laura and Bob and whoever else on Jefferson, they were camping, and they, whatever you shared with us, we're able to bring that back.
Yeah,
And
perfect.
then if we do that in different areas because we can't all get together in one central location, then that still doesn't keep us from doing that. Because as Justin said last night, whatever county you're on, if there's nobody else there, you're that militia coordinator for that county.
Yeah.
So right now, that's kind of way you have to look at it. If you're the only one there, that's the position you hold. Basically, any and all positions that are available to those counties, because you're the only one there.
Yeah. Can I add to that before I jump off?
Sure.
Yeah. To even really make that most effective, even at the smallest of participation, let's say I'm on Spencer County and I'm the only one, but I'm a subject matter of water purification. And my time doesn't allow me to even meet up, not within the next, say, 90 days. But that doesn't prohibit me from going in my backyard, setting up a camera, and illustrating that on behalf of the Spencer County Assembly, the future Spencer County Assembly, and then provide that as part of the Kentucky Assembly Militia, and then add that to our library of audio video tutorials. So it's a really, really great objective way to maximize our through our limitations of being able to meet in a group. And what this does is follows the model of what the armories, the National Guard armories on Kentucky has, because in each one of those armories, there are soldiers who are, their MOS specializes what places them in that armory. Now, here's an example. The Charlie Battery, 2nd 138th Field Artillery in Bardstown, Kentucky, their skill, their MOS is field artillery. Well, I don't have an armory, first of all, in my yard. I don't even have a National Guard armory on my county. But one county over, that's what they specialize in. So I can just mimic that limitation by providing what I have for my community, and that would be, evidence or illustrations of water purification in a video format, and that's added to our video library. Then when we get together, we can practice that. All right, guys, I got to jump off here. I hope that was
Hold on,
good.
tell me what MOS is real quick before you leave.
A military occupational skill set.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
Yeah, you bet.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome. See you. Great meeting. so
Thank you.
far. Uh-huh.
So with that, then that would be a great idea. If if somebody specializes and you want to use you, Laura, with your herbal, if you wanted to do that and record something and be able to share that, then that would be a great thing that we could do. And in that particular case, like I say, you don't have to really even go anywhere. You can do it right there in your own backyard or in your house or whatever, and we can just add that to our library. So that would be great. Is there any other discussion on these? Because right now there's nothing set up for the camping. We are going to try to do something. It may end up being more right now since we weren't able to get together as far as camping. That may come later in the fall. But the training day, we're going to try to see if we can figure something out so that hopefully we can have something set up tentatively the next meeting in 2 weeks. We'll at least have a date, try to pick out, if at all possible.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. If there's no other comments or questions on that, then Chris, you can go ahead and move forward.
All right, we talked a little bit about the generator that Nick on Garrett has designed and come up with for use on the militia pillar. I've talked to Nick a couple of times, and he's still going through the final stages of the development and production on it. He did say that whenever he gets the final funding and push for the generator to be finalized and produced, that he will. I'm wanting to say, he said maybe 10 to 20 production style generators built. And he said that he will have to have some of those donated to people. And he'd be willing to donate at least one to the militia for us to test and give him on feedback. So his spring in turbine generator out at some point. Can trips forward to trying that out. You got anything to add to that, Todd?
Well, just going to say with that is we're definitely going to take him up on that once we can figure out all the particulars on the details and how that can happen, because one, that's a great opportunity for us. Two, it's a great way to help him out and try to nitpick. So that's one of the reasons we were wanting to get together and be able to do some of these like camping trips, or even if it wasn't a camping trip, it was a day trip and we wanted to test out the generator and some of the things we were doing. It would just be a great opportunity to get that and use that. So we're definitely looking forward to that. So we'll continue to be in communication with Nick on that, and then as we learn more, we'll share it. Right now, we just has that minimal stuff. Chris, has been in contact, so that's really all we have to share on that for this moment. Is there any questions or thoughts on that from anyone?
And I
Go ahead, Chris.
was just also going to add that he didn't have a set date of when production will be coming out either. So still kind of in there a little bit. But I stay in contact with him. He's supposed to reach out to me. But I'll definitely keep in touch with him and see where all that's at. And whenever it's available, I'll be trying to take him up on his offer.
It's probably going to work out perfect because it'll come, in maybe September-ish when it'll be cooler and we can actually do a camp out. I trust God's timing.
Yes.
Well, like I say, Chris and I are going to make continual efforts. I really just foresee, if as long as we can work it out, we're going to be trying to hang out and do some things together, at least day things and some camping trips, just because I just know as we do that, we'll work better, we'll understand each other, we'll be able to read each other better. And I just think that teamwork, you need to develop that and build up on that. So that's something that's very, I think, near and dear to both of our hearts as far as moving forward for the militia. And then, is there any other thoughts or comments? Because that's really all we have for tonight. told you before, we wanted to try to keep it around an hour. I know we're just a touch over. But if our next meeting will be July the 10th at 7. Is there any last comments or questions for tonight?
I'd like to thank everybody for showing up, hanging out with us for an hour. Appreciate
Yes.
y'all.
Thank you all. I thank Chris for taking the lead tonight. Chris, you did a great job. Appreciate that.
Hope I didn't butcher it too bad for you.
You didn't butcher it at all. So if with that, I'm going to make a move to adjourn.
I'll second.
Laura on Jefferson seconds. All in favor? Say yay.
All right.
All right.
Thank you
Yay.
all,
Yeah.
both of you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody.
All right. Well, thank
Great
you
job,
all.
guys.
And you guys have a great evening.
Have a blessed evening.
You too.
Have a blessed evening.
Hey,
Yeah.
Chris, if you will, when you get done, give me a call. Maybe we can discuss that card for a few minutes.
All right. Might have to give me a minute, but I'll here.
Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you guys.
Have a good 2 weeks.
All right. You too.